For decades, the name Seagal meant one thing: untouchable, stone-faced, lethal force. Steven Seagal wasn't just an actor, he was a cultural phenomenon. Seventh Dan black belt in Aikido, who brought a terrifying realism to action movies. His fight scenes weren't just choreography, they were brutal, efficient, and felt more like lethal demonstrations. In an era of muscle-bound heroes, Seagal's brand was different because it felt real. His name became the benchmark for a certain kind of terrifying skill. But what if I told you his most dangerous legacy isn't in his movies? It's in his blood. This is the story of how Steven Seagal's daughter is stepping out of his colossal shadow and into the punishing world of professional wrestling. Everyone's asking the same thing. Will he be proud? To get this story, you have to appreciate the massive shadow cast by her parents. On one side, you have Steven Seagal, the action icon. On the other, Kelly LeBrock, the supermodel and actress who defined an era with films like Weird Science. Arissa LeBrock grew up in a wild blend of Hollywood glamour and hardcore martial arts. Her father's legacy is all about untouchable fighting skill. Her mother's is about pure star power. So what happens when that legacy gets reborn inside a WWE ring? This is the story of a proud father seeing his daughter forge her own legacy in the brutal world of wrestling. The entire wrestling world is buzzing about Arissa LeBrock's shocking WWE debut, with wild stories spreading about her dismantling a top-tier superstar. But the truth of how she even got into that ring is crazier than any rumor. It's a story of a devastating injury that nearly ended her career before it even started, fall into darkness, and an incredible comeback that has the entire industry watching. This isn't just another celebrity kid playing wrestler. It's a saga about fighting for your own name, and we're here to separate the fiction from the even wilder reality. To understand the weight on Arissa LeBrock's shoulders, you have to go back to the late 80s and early 90s. Steven Seagal wasn't just a movie star. He was an enigma, exploded onto the scene with hits like Above the Law, Hard to Kill, and the iconic Under Siege. What set him apart wasn't just his martial arts, but the authenticity he projected. He was a legitimate Aikido master, one of the first Westerners to run a dojo in Japan, and that real-world credibility bled onto the screen. He was stoic, quiet, and moved with a deadly economy that made every bone-snapping wrist lock feel terrifyingly real. Audiences felt like they were watching the real Steven Seagal, a man who could walk out of the theater and do the exact same thing in a dark alley. That's a heavy name to carry. But the shadow had another side. Her mother, Kelly LeBrock, was a force of nature. A supermodel who graced countless magazine covers and became a cultural icon in The Woman in Red and War. Of course, as the dream woman brought to life in Weird Science, she represented a different kind of power, the power of charisma, beauty, and a star quality that could captivate the world. Arissa was born at the intersection of these two larger-than-life legacies, her father's world of brutal martial discipline and her mother's world of Hollywood glamour. Every move she made was watched. For years, Arissa forged her own path, leaning more toward her mother's world. She became a successful plus-size model and a voice for body positivity, even starring in the 2017 reality show Growing Up Supermodel. The show made one thing clear: she was fighting to be seen for who she was, not just for whose daughter she was. But under the surface, a different passion was brewing, one that connected directly to her father's world, but was entirely her own. She was about to trade the runway for the wrestling ring and confront that colossal shadow head-on. While the world saw a model, the other half of her legacy was taking shape behind the scenes. Arissa began dedicating herself to the grueling world of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. This wasn't some celebrity hobby. It was a deep-seated passion. Mat is a place of brutal honesty. It doesn't care about your last name, only your skill. It was here that the Seagal side of her, the martial arts bloodline, began to emerge. She didn't just train, she competed, winning medals and training at the prestigious Paragon Jiu-Jitsu and Kickboxing Academy. She was proving her connection to martial arts was every bit as legitimate as her father's. That unique combination, the charisma of a model, the daughter of an action star, and the skills of a legit BJJ practitioner, was too compelling for WWE to ignore. In December 2019, the call came. An invitation for a multi-day tryout at the state-of-the-art Performance Center in Orlando. This is the golden ticket every aspiring wrestler dreams of. But the PC is also a notorious meat grinder. designed to push the world's most elite athletes to their absolute physical and mental limits. For Arissa, the pressure was insane. She wasn't just another athlete. She was a legend's daughter. And in wrestling, that puts a giant target on your back. You have to work twice as hard to prove you're not just coasting on a name. But she was ready, convinced her BJJ background gave her the legitimacy she needed to belong. This was her shot, and then it all fell apart. During or shortly after that grueling tryout, Arissa suffered a severe, catastrophic injury. This wasn't a minor sprain. It was a career-threatening setback that brought her wrestling ambitions to a screeching halt. Imagine the crushing weight of that moment. You chase an impossible dream, put yourself through the toughest test of your life, and stand on the edge of a new beginning, only for your own body to give out. The dream was snatched away, the hype vanished. What followed was darkness, silence, and doubt. Reward will rise. The story of Arissa LeBrock, the wrestler, was a forgotten headline. In a moment of raw honesty, Arissa later admitted, "I had become comfortable in the darkest, worst place in my life." It's one thing to be in a dark place. It's another to get comfortable there. It looked like her story was over before it ever began. A dream deferred can either break you or forge you into something stronger. For Arissa LeBrock, her time away from the ring became a period of rebirth. Just when it seemed her wrestling story was done, a lifeline came from one of the most respected figures in the industry, Dustin Rhodes. Dustin, the man the world knew as the brilliant and bizarre Goldust, is now a revered veteran coach in all elite wrestling. More importantly, he's the son of the legendary American Dream, Dusty Rhodes. If anyone on earth understands the crushing weight of a famous father's shadow, it's Dustin. He knows what it's like to fight for your own identity. He heard Arissa's story, the promising tryout, the devastating injury, the silence, and saw the untapped potential. He invited her to Austin, Texas, to train at his acclaimed Rhodes Wrestling Academy. It wasn't just an offer. It was a second chance when she thought they were all gone. This was the call she needed, as Arissa later said. When I got the call from Dustin, I realized that I had become comfortable. It was time for me to give every ounce of passion within me to professional wrestling. She packed her bags and threw herself into the craft. The Rhodes Wrestling Academy is a world away from the polished WWE Performance Center. It's an old-school dojo built on hard work and respect. Here, Arissa wasn't a celebrity's daughter. She was a student, a rookie, learning from a master. Under Dustin's guidance, she began rebuilding herself, not just physically, but mentally. She worked with trainers to get, as Dustin put it, all her ducks in a row. Dustin taught her how to translate her BJJ knowledge into the unique language of pro wrestling, blending her legitimate combat skills with showmanship. He was blown away by her talent and relentless work ethic, becoming her biggest cheerleader. In an interview, he praised her, saying she's doing a great job, but this is only the beginning for her. That's the highest praise from a man who has seen it all. He didn't just see a student, he saw a future star. And he made a bold prediction that put the wrestling world on notice. Pretty soon, the whole world's going to be talking about Arissa LeBrock. After months of transformative training, her moment of truth arrived. In March 2023, the comeback hit its first peak. Arissa competed at the Rhodes Wrestling Academy's Student Showcase, her official in-ring debut. It wasn't in a massive arena, but in an intimate setting in Austin. In front of hardcore fans who know the sacrifice it takes just to step through those ropes, this was real. This was earned. When she stepped into that ring, she wasn't a failed prospect or a model playing wrestler. She was a survivor. She had beaten the injury, the doubt, and the darkness. At night, she was finally and unequivocally a professional wrestler. So as Arissa stood in that ring, her arm raised, what was the one man whose opinion was shaped by decades of real-world combat thinking? What was Steven Seagal's reaction? To be clear, there's no public interview of Seagal watching the match, but you don't need one to connect the dots. For a man like Steven Seagal, a lifelong devoted martial artist, what would he see? He wouldn't just see the showmanship of wrestling, he'd see the discipline. He would recognize the grit and sheer toughness required to compete after a career-threatening injury. He would see a warrior spirit. Think about it. His daughter just embodied every principle his own persona is built on. Resilience, strength, and an unbreakable will. She faced the pressure of their family name, had her dreams shattered by physical failure, fell into a dark place, and then clawed her way back. She didn't use her name for a handout. She humbled herself, moved to Texas, and learned the craft from the ground up the hard way. You have to believe that a father, especially one grounded in the ethos of martial arts, would feel a profound pride in the warrior his daughter had become. He would see the perfect fusion of his world and her mother's. She has the physical presence and combat credibility he values, blended with the star quality and charisma inherited from Kelly LeBrock. While his path was the solitary one of a martial arts master, and hers is the public performance of wrestling, the core principles are the same. Her journey isn't just continuing his legacy, it's evolving it. She's taking the fighting spirit he represents and translating it for a new generation in a new arena. She's honoring her father's legacy in the most impressive way possible, by proving the Seagal name is synonymous with a toughness that can't be broken, whether on a movie set or inside the squared circle. Arissa LeBrock's story proves a legacy isn't just what you're given, it's what you build. It's born into Hollywood royalty. She chose the grind of the wrestling ring. She has transformed herself from Steven Seagal's daughter into Arissa LeBrock, the professional wrestler. And just as her mentor Dustin Rhodes predicted, the whole world is starting to talk. The question isn't if she belongs anymore. The question now is, what's next? Her story is just getting started, built not on her parents' name, but on her own incredible resilience. With her unique look, legit combat training, and an iconic mentor, her potential is through the roof. So what do you think? Now that she's proven she has the grit, where does Arissa LeBrock go from here? Does she return to the global stage of WWE to finish the story that began at that fateful tryout? Or does she join her mentor, Dustin Rhodes, in AEW and shake up their women's division? Let us know your dream scenario down in the comments. If you love stories about legacy and resilience, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the most incredible stories in wrestling.